Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. Now, today's show is going to be what is progression in Star Citizen to you? And the reason that I brought this topic up is I'm seeing well, first off, last week I made a weekend review about the fact that I'm bummed out that there was a wipe coming with 3.8.1, and everyone had to remind me like I didn't know that Star Citizen is an alpha, okay? And I'm fully aware of that. I'm fully aware that a wipe was coming. I was just a little bummed out that it had to happen. We were hoping, and even from comments at CitizenCon, that 3.8 would progress straight through to 3.9. Unfortunately, that didn't work out, right? But these wipes and a lot of other elements of Star Citizen are what's keeping people from playing it regularly. It's keeping people from maybe even calling it a game rather than an alpha or a tech demo or whatever. And I thought it would be a good topic for this week to have this discussion with you guys. What is it to you? What is progression? Because I feel like we're going to get all sorts of different ideas of what progression is in Star Citizen to you. I'll start out with what it means to me. For me, it's in-game systems and gameplay loops that tie together to create a form of linear progression with obvious offshoots that can go in all sorts of different directions, right? Not like super linear where you go from level 1, smithing to level 2 smithing and so on, but more along the lines of progressing with things like reputation with certain guilds or companies or mission givers, right? Then the obvious one is ship progression. And I think a lot of things about Star Citizen, at the current way it's being developed, has hampered ship progression, whether the allowing of purchasing of ships, the most simple way that progression is kind of skipped, and then the idea of you never really losing any components on your ships as well, being a form of progression skip, in my opinion. And we've debated that before on the show, and it's not really necessarily up for debate today, unless that's one of the things that keeps you from playing Star Citizen, basically, I would kind of try to stay away from that, as we've had that discussion before, and I don't think that that's really going to change, right? So we'll have to see with those elements and what happens in the future. Unless you want to add on to the way we progress items and have some ideas for that, maybe we can discuss that a little bit. Then going on from that is the simple discussion of wipes. How long is enough? Is a single patch cycle of 3 months enough for you? For me, with the current state of Star Citizen, I think it's perfect. I think it gives you plenty of time to progress towards a certain ship upgrade or two, and gives you the opportunity to play multiple game mechanics within that 3-month cycle. Now, the problem with Star Citizen is it's super shallow. There's not a lot to it, right? So if you start extending these wipe cycles to like 9 months, there's going to be a point, and I think it's going to be around 3 months, when people get bored and stop playing, because the actual in-game systems don't support that length of time playing it, because there's not enough to do, right? There's not enough progression. So with that said, I'm going to start getting into the calls and see what you guys think is progression in Star Citizen. And in particular, like, the main questions that I would ask you are, what is it to you? What is progression in Star Citizen as you know it? What do you want it to be in the near future? And what is keeping you from playing it consistently today? You can mention bugs in that statement as well, but more importantly, from a progression standpoint, right? So let's go ahead and bring in our first caller. His name is King Gere. And the last time he was on the show, we brought him in and he happened to be on the toilet. So hopefully today he's fully ready to go, mic in hand, and comments to be had. So I'm a little nervous about this one. King, what's up, man? Welcome to Answer the Call. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm well. Let me turn you up just a tad. So, what are your thoughts here on progression and what does it mean to you? We'll start with that.
So, what does progression mean to me as
Like
Star Citizen?
in
Well,
Star Citizen, yeah.
it's kind of similar to any other MMO. You kind of work towards something that you've been wanting. So, for instance, if I want a ship, I do cargo missions, I do mining missions, I do anything bounty missions in order for me to achieve that target that I have set,
Uh
that
huh.
goal. So, I guess that's what progression means to me. Working towards something that you want.
Okay. And what is it in the game for you then? I mean, it sounds like it is.
No, kidding me? This game is so freaking broken and it's so shit. It's not even. I mean, who even plays this game anymore, man?
Okay.
Like,
But
no,
like what you're
seriously.
saying, like those elements are in.
Yeah, somewhat they are in, but of
Okay.
course, it being an
Like all
alpha,
memes
it's
aside, obviously.
yeah, of course. With all moves aside, with all joking aside, it is in. I do admit that it is in, but the game really, you can't really progress right now. You have to wait until the game hits beta. You know, you gotta wait until it's beta because beta will guarantee, in my opinion, will almost guarantee that it will save you progression all the way up until the release of the game. Um, Even with Squadron 42, I know Squadron 42 is going to come out first in an alpha stage and then a beta stage. That's progression right there, right? You make a progression and then probably within the alpha they erase your progress, to test something out, and you're all the way back from the beginning, and that's your progress wipe right there.
Well, you're going to be waiting a really long time then. Like you don't think that there'll be some forms of progression in Star Citizen and a decent amount of time that you can play the game and enjoy it? Like people play other games with seasons. Uh Correct me if I'm wrong, Diablo 3 has seasons. The other game that's similar to Diablo, I think it begins with a P, has seasons. Um
I'm
you
not
have
sure what
Escape
you're
from
talking about.
Tarkov that has wipes, right?
Yeah.
What's different about this game that requires you to wait until Path of Exile? Thank you, chat. That Rust is another one, but I mean, there's not many MMOs that have wipes. Is that the issue? Is that when you is Star Citizen in your mind an MMO and there's no point in playing it until it's an MMO?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, right now, I guess you can consider it an MMO because you are playing with other people and you are doing missions. And you're ranking up. I guess you can say ranking up your player, but you're really customizing it more with better armor and better weapons and getting better stuff for your ship.
Yeah.
But I honestly, I've gotten so bored of the game. Gameplay has been the same, really. Oh, they added the mole, for instance, right? They added the mole for the mining. Mining is still the same as it was before. You're still
Mm-hmm.
going to the surface and mining. Still going to some asteroid belt, whatever, around Yellow or Delamar or whatever. You're still mining. It's still the same thing,
Yeah.
but they're adding just a little bit of stuff and that type of gameplay. Not only mining, but cargo too. At cargo, I think at 3.6 or 3.5, they added what is it, new drugs, whatever, like Willow and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
It's still the same cargo, but of course, they're adding a little bit of a gameplay loop in order for you to not only go for, I forgot what was the one on the yellow, what drug that was, but whatever that
It
drug
was
was,
Widow.
Widow. So Widow was like the main thing, and now they added different ones. They're trying to add more to the gameplay loop in order for you to progress more. But really, they just got to fit in order for them to make progression worth it for me. They got to just finish Squadron 42, and then whoever's working on Squadron 42, and or of course, that they're gonna need a team fixing Squadron 42 when it comes out, and all that other stuff. But when that hits beta, whatever, and they decide to put people from Squadron 42 over to Star Citizen, that is when, I'll definitely, don't get me wrong, I'll still play the game for like an hour with you and, and
Every now and
clowns, but
then, yeah.
for me, it's just, the same old thing. You get into a ship, do one thing, and then boom, for me, at least I'm just bored within an hour because I already know what to do in the game. There's nothing at all. I've done everything that you could have possibly done, and I'm not interested at all.
Yeah. But you play a lot of like DCS and stuff. Is there progression in that?
Nah,
So
in terms of
what makes you enjoy
yeah,
that over a game like Star Citizen?
well, so I'm just a huge fan of aviation in
Okay.
general. You know, as you know, I work at an airport, so
Yeah.
of course my passion is aviation. So me playing those games, even though it's sort of like Star Citizen, but you know, it's just you're using more of your brain. You know, you're definitely in almost every situation that you're in and or flying in DCS and X-Plane and all those other games, you know, it's different every time. In
Yeah.
Star Citizen, I feel like, you know, it's different every time, but it's all the same thing. You know, there's like a little circle that you're in and you're doing the same things over and over again, over and over and over and over and over and over, you know, and that's it.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. So you're not like, just to hammer it home, you're not going to play this game regularly until it is essentially done.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. I think that's fair. I think a lot of people are just like you. And I think a lot of people aren't. And I think a lot of people are willing to play the game if we just had a little bit more time.
Yes, you're
And
completely right.
yeah, so we'll see. But King, is there anything else you want to add before I let you go and go on to the next one?
No.
Okay, I thought you were gonna do something stupid. All right, man. I'll let you go. I shouldn't even give
All
you
right,
that chance. You know what? I'm just gonna put you in the dump right now. That's it. Thank you, King, for the call. I appreciate it very much. And let's bring in our next caller, Dak Tannen. What's up, Dak? Hello, Dak. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello, I hear you.
There we go.
What's up, man?
I'm using the stupid webpage. How's it going?
I'm well.
Now, do you need callers?
I needed callers. Yes. Thank you for
Yes.
popping in.
Usually I'm asleep, so that's the only reason I haven't called in early. Is this is usually my sleep-in day. So if you're struggling with this podcast, I want it to keep going, so I will be here every Sunday if it'll help.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, and usually it'll be later in the day. Today's a little bit earlier because I have some family obligations today.
Yeah.
But what is progression to you? What does it mean to you, and what's keeping you from playing SC if you aren't, or if you are?
I
keeps
used to
you playing?
play, and I haven't touched it in a while.
Okay.
The biggest thing for me, I guess I come to think of 3 games when I think of progression, because I'm a pilot.
Okay.
And it's whether it be combat or helping my friends mine, whatever, I would be the pilot, and I'm really good at that. That's what I always do. Grand Theft Auto, games like Armored Core, Elite Dangerous, piloting is one of my best skills. So it's the thing that got me into the game.
Gotcha.
I see progression in 2 ways, as tinkering as well as skill-based. The flight system is broken, and we all know that. So I'm not expecting that to be fixed overnight, but let's pretend it was working.
Okay.
What would get me back in is either like wipes 3 months, not a big deal. I don't particularly care about the wipes.
Okay.
When you play a game like the 3 games I was considering would be Armored Core, Gran Turismo, old 6 and before, and a game like earlier Monster Hunters, like the ones on the PS2 and the PSP.
Okay.
There was 2 skill sets. There was the skill set of you being better at your craft, whatever it was you did. In Gran Turismo would be your driving, and games like Armored Core would be your mech piloting skills, and in Monster Hunter would be your sword, gunner, whatever skill set you were using. And then there's the improvement of your equipment. Improving equipment is something that I wanted really bad out of this game, and the way they've done it kind of worries me, because I play Elite Dangerous, and Elite Dangerous is good, but it falls into a very simple MMO way of upgrading, where there's A, B, C, and D, and A is always what you aim for.
And once you've upgraded,
you're done.
That's it. You're done.
And it's like, that's not like Gran Turismo and Armored Core, and even Monster Hunter, the old Monster Hunter. I'm not talking about Monster Hunter World because it was too simplified. You always had a tilt, a scale, something that would be good about said equipment and bad. So you had 5 or 6 A grade options, but no one was perfect. Like in Armored Core, you had targeting computers. Targeting computers had a depth, so how far out sniper ones where it had a narrow focus. The close range ones had a wider focus. Missile-based ones would give you better lock-ons with missiles, but longer to lock on with a rifle. And so you picked based on what your loadout was going to be and what kind of engagement you intended to have, so that no matter what kind of Armored Core suit you built, your opponent could have a diametrically opposed suit to combat you. And it was never I've got the best suit. It was like, best suit for this situation.
Did you watch CitizenCon?
No, actually, this is the first year I didn't watch.
Okay, I think you would be pleased to hear that a lot of what you mentioned is a lot of what they plan on doing.
Okay, well, that's encouraging.
Yes, yeah. As far as armor on your character, as far as armor on your ships, as far as weapons on your character, and as far as weapons on your ships. Like, there's going to be trade-offs, and given the situation that you might encounter, is the type of loadout that you would want to use.
Yeah.
So
and the second layer,
yeah,
that's definitely encouraging to feel better. I'm definitely going to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
But the second set, and this is something that you've probably seen. I noticed you racing earlier, and this is something that is a struggle for anybody.
I wasn't barely racing.
Attempting. It wasn't
I attempted racing.
This is something that I feel is a problem with Star Citizen's situation as well, and why I haven't been able to play. When I got in a hangar module. So of course I spent years dreaming about flying. And once the flying came in and it got good, it was fun. So I was enjoying it, getting better at it.
Yeah.
And then it crossed a threshold where the dynamics of what flight was are diametrically opposed to what it is now. And all the skills we learned basically meant nothing.
I have 14 different throttles to fly the ship. Like, it's insane, and there's too many hands to move to go a certain speed.
Yeah. And I mean, I play with a flight stick. I have an X55 throttle and an X65S, so I definitely have two throttles. And they're perfect. They're exactly what I want out of a flight control system, and I'm not intending on changing that. Mm-hmm. But when you play this game, this was something I saw in Monster Hunter as well as Gran Turismo, even in Armored Core. You would start off with your crap, whatever, suit or car or set of armor. As you got improved equipment, you also gained skill. So sometimes something would happen, like in my case, I did something stupid in Monster Hunter and lost my file and had to start all over again. Yeah. I had over 1,000 hours in the game at that point. And within 30 hours, I had my favorite suit of armor, my favorite gun back. And I had been fighting naked. I had actually gotten to the point where my first suit of armor was the best suit I'd wanted because I could fight so well. Monsters that would have killed me before, I could fight them without taking a single hit naked and win. That's the difference of a progression in skill because the skill sets stayed the same. Gran Turismo is similar. When I first started playing, I was crap like everybody else. And you learn techniques, advance. I had a friend who wanted to start playing and he didn't have a PS2. So I let him Gran Turismo 1. He got better at 3 because he was playing 1 because the systems were similar. They were based on, fact in this case because it's a simcade, whatever you want to put it.
Yeah, the controls are the same.
The controls are the same, and the concept of driving stays the same. Yeah. I think Star Citizen needs to have that, a concept where your skill can improve. In my case, as a pilot, I'm not sure for first-person shooting how good or bad it is because I use a controller, so I'm not that great at first-person shooters. I'm just passable.
Yeah.
But it feels like all the skill I learned, like if you had called me back when Elite Dangerous first launched, and I was playing both, as I backed both games, I love them both. Mm-hmm. If you had asked me which game had the better combat, I would have said Star Citizen hands down. It wouldn't even have taken a second of thinking about it.
Yeah.
And even in Elite, I've gotten better, but there is still a ceiling, and I've reached that ceiling. I think I'm at Elite in combat, but my merchandising skills are 0, and everything else is at 0 because I'm a combat pilot. That's just what I do. I used to have races with my friend where he had the autopilot to dock. I could dock using boost inside the station and land without breaking the ship.
Yeah.
That was how good I got at landing and flying. And, once I'd reached the ceiling of what you could do skill-wise as a pilot, and I reached the limit of customization on the ship, I just kind of stopped playing. I don't have a reason to play Elite Dangerous, and I like it. But I always want that constant, there's always room for growth. When I play games like Forza or Gran Turismo, my skill as a driver is still improving. My skill as a tuner is still improving. I don't expect it to be bottomless, but there should always be a tweak. If you're going into an asteroid field, there should be a set of thrusters you pick, something for signature so that you can hide more easily, things like that you can tweak. So you have your asteroid loadout, you have maybe your atmospheric loadout, maybe you have your long distance so that you don't run out of fuel loadout. And then your skill set needs to adjust as well with each of those loadouts. And so far, I don't really see that. I think they're trying to compress the skill gap too much because the downside of what I've just mentioned is the more you have that, the more the beginning player is going to feel trounced by the guy who's been playing for 5 years or put 1,000 hours in that first year in, and he's mastered his craft. And you can't really have people that can play every craft. I'm a pilot, and I know I'm going to be a pilot. I don't expect to be a good miner or a good merchandiser or even necessarily a good first-person shooter. I expect to be my group's pilot.
Yeah. And
it's like, go ahead, sorry.
yeah, and progressing in that is, I don't currently see how that, because the whole issue with Star Citizen is they've talked about this 10-year cycle for it, and is there going to be a 10-year cycle after release of the game? We're already 8 years into the 10-year cycle at this point, if you want to look at it that way, right? And there's many ways to look at what that is, but if the 10-year cycle is from the release of the game and that people continue to play it for 10 years, what is someone like you going to enjoy 1 year, 2 years from that date until that time? And that's the real question here is...
Yeah, and it worries me a bit because I was playing Forza. I got a couple of my friends into it now. My friend James used to play Gran Turismo back in the day with me and my friends. He's got potential as a driver, and this is something I've seen a lot of. There's people that have an interest in whatever. In this case, let's say it's combat piloting. There's people that have an interest in flying. There's people that have a natural knack for it, and there's people that work at it, like your friend who likes to play DCS that was just on.
Yeah.
He works at piloting, so he's probably going to even be better than me. Because for me, I enjoy combat piloting, but I'm not as high level as I want to be. And I know people that play DCS are definitely a tier above where I am, so I expect to see the gap. My friend James, he has a couple of friends that consider themselves they're civilian in racing. They'd be lucky to get to the corner store, in my opinion. James has skill, but he's definitely beginner status, and he didn't even understand the world of beginner status, because I would consider it an insult to mention his friends as beginners compared to him. Yeah. But as somebody like me who's been playing since 1997, I've been playing Sims. It's a long time, and my skill set, there's only a handful of people I know in my personal life that can drive no holds barred against me, and we have an interesting race. Usually I handicap myself, and I expect that going into any driving sim, because even as skilled as I am, there's people that make me look, I told him I'm like intermediate. I'm
of
not
course,
even
there's pros.
Expert level.
Right?
There's people that are way out there, and I think Star Citizen, I expected it to have the same kind of breadth of experience. People that are beginners, people that are intermediate, people that are amazing, and make you look like you're sitting still. Like Red Baron levels, I was hoping to have those people that were known online, that guy that's the equivalent of a Red Baron in space. And you see him, you know you're probably going to die, but you take it anyway and you hope. It's like, can I get a shot on that guy that's legendary? And
the Hand of the Exile.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you expect, I don't think people realize that. And I think that they've tried to dumb down the piloting to match the people that just want to dabble in piloting, not make it their focus.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem. Is I think they've been dumbing down things a little bit, and that's where we've gotten to the point that we did. But at the same time, I do think that it did need to be dumbed down somewhat. It's just I think they made a correction that was really drastic, and not like minor tweaks that could have gotten them maybe where they needed to go. And then on top of that, we have these auto gimbals that are now going to be attached to turrets as well to make things simpler for people, instead of working on something and iterating on it until it works. They're simplifying it to the point where
anybody can do it,
and the game is gonna get boring really quickly, and that's a major problem, and that is progression. Right, that does fall under this category.
Yeah, because I felt skill progression was my thing. Because I like MMOs. I used to play EVE Online, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. But the reason I stopped is I wanted a more hands-on approach.
Yeah, and that's what this
EVE
is.
Online was. This was like my dream. I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be it. And it had it for a while. It really had it somewhere around 2.4 to 2.6. Really had the combat where I could see me getting better, as well as there being more room to grow, because it was very Twitch. But it was also strategic. You could approach an oncoming, when you were engaging in combat with another player, there was a lot of different approaches you could have towards taking down that opponent. And as you played, certain people I noticed had certain effects. If I could scare the person in the ship I was up against, and as soon as they retreated, I had them. Because I was usually playing a 350R, and the 350R's acceleration allowed me to be right on somebody's tail in their blind spot. And even though my guns were weaker, I could usually take them out before they could realize, oh crap, running isn't working, and then it's already too late.
I can't wait till all those, no offense, all those stupid racing pilots PvPing, when they finally put the actual what your ship is made out of, you're fucked.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I don't mind the spacing ships being fragile as crap. That's part of my play style is glass cannon.
Yeah.
So I usually play as a glass cannon. Even in Eve, I used to play as a glass cannon because I picked the racing ship purely because I expected to be out of paper, like a Japanese aeroplane in World War II. And then if you can stay out of that guy's sights, you'll destroy him. But as soon as he touches you, you break into pieces.
Yeah.
I expect that, and that's the kind of fighting style I like. It's like, who needs defense when you won't get hit? The problem is now there is no dodging. You can't dodge anything. So it's like I would have to pick. I mean, I have one of the ships I have on my account. Basically, I'm waiting until I find out what kind of ship the Polaris can hold to determine what ship I'm going to have, because my 350R is my launch ship. It's the ship I bought with my account. So until I have another ship to replace it, I'm either looking at probably like a Raven. I have whatchamacallit, a Harbinger, but I don't know if it's going to fit in the Polaris. And if
Probably
it doesn't fit in the
not,
Polaris, I'm not going to keep it, and I'm going to go to something else that does.
Gotcha. Well, all right, Dak. Sorry.
Thanks a lot, though.
No problem.
I was like, yeah. But that's, the threshold of this. If they're going, I'm worried about the compression. If they compress too far, I may end up just being a passive person that comes in from time to time, has some fun, but don't really focus on it like just something you enjoy from time to time as a, momentary excursion.
Yeah, that's true. All right, bud. I'll let you go, and I'll get to a few tweets here because we actually have a couple of those, and we'll bring in the next caller. Thank you for coming on and helping out.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it, dude. Oh, okay, there it goes. That was a really good call. So thank you for that, Dak. I appreciate it. Now, quickly, let's get over to the first tweet here. Hopefully that works. From Mud Trucka, he said, I worry that if wipes are the only thing holding people back, and I do see a lot of people saying that wipes are what's holding them back, that they will be turned off from the grinding again from start once a wipe eventually does happen. Like, if I'm confused, they're not going to play if there's wipes, though, right? So I worry that if wipes are the only thing holding people back from playing, they will be turned off from grinding again from the start once it wipe. Oh, like even if they said from today on that they weren't going to wipe, that on day one when they do wipe, that they will be like, and then not want to play the actual game. I don't know, man. I think when things are turned on live and it's go time for real, like, I would never do a 24-hour stream. I would never do a 15-hour stream. But I feel like on the day that Star Citizen goes live, like, that's so likely that would happen for me. It would just be like progressing in every way possible as fast as I could. Right? But that's just me. All right, so let's go back to what else do we have here. We have Managalar as well. And he says, do you think the companion/crew hiring and leveling will end up being a major gameplay loop? I know they said it wouldn't become Sim Citizen, but they're going to be crew stations and human players will not want hard/boring, maybe taming an arc. I don't know. I think it's more just like, if you take care of them, they will take care of you kind of thing. I think it's more simple than that. That's me. But maybe there'll be some progression elements for that as your crew stays your crew for a longer period of time, they progress and get better. And then this was like a whole big tweet from Citizen Shenanigans saying that we're live. But then he says, progression in Star Citizen to me is the ability to improve my skill, not stat or points, in multiple professions, whether it's flight, dogfighting, mining, FPS, etc., because the fundamentals are pretty much set. Ooh, I don't think the fundamentals of Star Citizen are anywhere near set. I think we're so far away from the fundamentals being set in Star Citizen, but I do agree with, and I think he agrees with Dak. That's kind of the point that Dak was making, was progression in Star Citizen isn't necessarily your little components as much as it is giving you room to grow in the game and be more skillful at the game. And that those elements don't necessarily need to be something that is a PvP skill. It's he was just talking about flying, right? And a lot of his call, he was talking about racing. Those aren't PvP elements necessarily, but yeah, that's interesting. So those are tweets. If you guys want to add any more tweets in, we might check them out a bit later. So moving on from that, and I think we've had a couple of really good calls so far. I'm going to bring in my next caller here, but just getting his handle in. I'm going to do a simple version of your handle Acid Trip, because he's got some elite speak in his handle. All right, he's got a little bit of elite speak in his handle, but I'm not going to do any of that. We'll just do the basics. Acid Trip, welcome to answer the call, man. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad.
So we'll start out with what is progression in Star Citizen to you? What does it mean to you?
Well, at the moment, there is small bits of progression in it.
Obviously,
but
like your bank account can go up, and there's some ships to purchase.
Yeah. I also think that the wipes are very necessary.
Yeah.
But probably not so much 3 months, more 6 months, so they can start to get the economy sort of rolling a bit more.
Yeah. Do you think it requires maybe the dynamic economy before that really matters?
Yeah.
Like, would you play this economy for 6 months and feel like you were progressing and enjoying it?
Well, for me to enjoy the game now would be more if there was more player interaction. So players could actually interact with each other a bit more than what they are.
Dive into that a little bit more. Give some examples of what that is. Sorry.
Well, at the moment, you can't even talk to each other without it screwing up.
It's true.
It's a basic mechanic that's like nearly in most multiplayer games.
Yeah.
And they can't even get that right. But for instance, mining, like you go mine in the mole, but having another player come and take your cargo off your mole and take the cargo in a different ship, like having that ship-to-ship interaction.
Yep.
At the moment, it's just you get in one ship, go to a place, do that job, and then take that same ship back. That's like with everything, delivering packages, bounty hunting.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real ship interaction or player interaction. It's sort of one way. That's where like that shallow gameplay comes into it.
Yeah, it's true. And just from a progression standpoint, though, because those are things that we obviously need in Star Citizen. But as far as progression goes, progression for me would be there being a goal at the end of something. So obviously, to make the ride of that goal more interesting, we need more player interaction. I agree, 1,000%. What would your goal look like in the game?
Well, one of the main goals is not necessarily me, but buying the next level ship would probably be one of the main jump points in the game.
Do you have a lot of ships on your account?
I have one.
Nice. Don't laugh. That's the way to go, man. These guys that have ships, hangars full of ships, I think they're ruining the game for themselves. I've been saying that for a long time. I have so much fun playing with one ship.
Yeah, I bought the Aurora MR like 4 years ago, and I've only just upgraded it to the base freelancer.
Uh-huh. Okay, nice. So you give yourself a little bit of a jump start, but you have so much room to grow in it.
I can actually sort of play with friends, like it's a 4-man ship. It's not just a 1-man ship, and I can carry a bit more cargo than the Aurora.
Gotcha.
But I'm not like spending thousands on stuff that I can just get into the game. You
can only fly one ship at a time. But so your goal is in the game now. But what's keeping you from enjoying it, is it more the wipes or the lack of depth because of the lack of player interaction, do you feel?
Yeah, you can't really. You can get into a party and go do a mission, but it's very hard to do that mission in your party.
Yep.
Like you won't get the same sort of you won't get paid. Like you've got your beacons and everything, but
Yeah.
it's not even sort of thing. You got
Yeah.
to know how much. Say you're doing freight running, you got to know how much freight you can actually get profit off it, and then know that before you go freight running to actually pay your other crew members a reasonable amount with you actually getting some
And what do
profit
they
in it
even
at the end
do?
as well.
What do they even do? They're just
They're
hanging out in
sitting
your
the
ship while you're flying.
You're not actually doing anything.
Yeah, they're not unloading or reloading or anything like that, right? So there's still so much missing from that loop there, even, right? So, yeah, it's
with
interesting.
Your character yourself, I don't think there should be any sort of progression in it, or like level up, you get more health or armor
No.
or anything like that. Yeah, I think it should just be the
What about-
individual skill based you playing the game.
What about reputation?
Yeah, reputations, but I can't really see how that's gonna work to actually. Like, when you go up in reputation, are you gonna unlock more stuff in that
Yeah.
rep line, or?
Yeah, so think of it this way. This is how I see it, at least. Is you can have reputation with like, you know how there's different pirate orgs in the game? Well, you can build a rep with one and they might leave you alone, or they might provide you with more lucrative missions or information about something within their area of space, right? That you can go and mine or gather or whatever. And then while you're building that reputation with that pirate organization, you're losing reputation with another, and they become more aggressive towards you. And then, you know, you can go even further than that. Reputation with a mission giver. You've completed his mission successfully. He provides you with a more difficult mission, right? And that gives you more payout or something like that, or a interesting weapon at the end as a unique goal or something, right? So there's lots of things, and even within that reputation, potentially with companies like Origin or RSI, where you're getting discounts on components, because even something as simple as like a rewards program, like you buy only RSI stuff, and the more RSI stuff you get, the cheaper they may be, or do missions for them, right? All these organizations, remember, did you watch CitizenCon this year?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so at CitizenCon, they showed the dynamic economy. And the dynamic economy was a bunch of little NPC dots flying all around, taking raw materials from A to B. And at B, those raw materials were turned into something. And then those little dots were taking from B to C. And that item was turned into something more advanced. And then it was moved all around the galaxy. And a company like Origin...
4.0 patch. That was sort of starting to touch on that, where it would put missions in for if someone ordered like 100 rockets.
Exactly. It would be stuff like that.
It would make a mission for you to go actually, like a miner, to go mine that material to make those rockets. Yes,
and at the same time, the NPCs would be doing it as well, right? And say that company is making ships. Say that company is Anvil. And you've done a bunch of these things and made life really easy for Anvil at their Carrick factory. Maybe you get a little discount on your Carrick purchase coming up, right? Things like that. And who knows? Maybe they provide interesting missions and stuff. I think with reputation, the sky's the limit as far as what kind of things can happen, right? Because you can gain rep, lose rep, and have interesting experiences through it. So that's what I mean by it. And that's your character, you know?
Yeah, I also think that it should be your progression should be visual based with your character.
I
So, for
agree.
instance, for bounty hunting, you can't just go to any generic shop and buy a bounty hunting suit and then everyone's running around with a bounty hunter suit. I reckon you should start off with your like your base space undersuit for a bounty hunter, and then the more bounty hunting missions you do, you can actually start getting like the gloves or the helmet or the chest piece. The further you go along, so then when someone comes up to you, or you are actually attacking a pirate um, or a bounty, they can sort of instantly go, well, they've got a full set of bounty hunter armor. They obviously know what they're doing, but they don't have like more health or anything like that. You can still defend yourself against them, even if you're a player just starting off.
Yeah. I think I can agree and disagree with that a little bit. I think I like the idea of opening up to the option of getting some cool cosmetic things from progressing in any aspect of the game. But I think when you said visual, what I thought you meant initially was more when you scan a pilot, they have a rank of some sort that is labeled there, right? Because you obviously can't see when you're ship versus ship combat or just scanning another ship as it's flying by. You can't see their armor, or you probably can't even see like an insignia on their ship unless we're really close, right? But maybe some information would pop up in like the faction section of the scan like it is now, and would be like level whatever bounty hunter, right? And then you'd be like, oh shit, I'm not messing with that guy.
They're all like dressed the same, but they're on like their shoulder. They've got like the sergeant or corporal.
Yeah.
Just like a little insignia showing that they're higher level or more experienced in that role.
Yeah. I think you need more visual in terms of like on the screen written down like something like that, but then on top of that to fall into what Star Citizen really is, where it's like these deep immersive visuals as well. Is that I agree with you there, is like some little insignia or something on your armor would be really cool, And then somebody else said even like company gives you branded armor or ship liveries in Twitch chat, right? So if you come across a ship that has some cool paint job that's super unique from the Bounty Hunters Guild, or the Pirates something, you would be like, oh crap, that guy's scary, That's cool. I like that. I like those ideas. Now, let me ask you this. I think you mentioned it. Do you play regularly, and do the wipes prevent you from playing?
Well, I bought it in 2015.
Okay.
I played it for like a month, and it was not really playable back then.
Yeah.
But now I've sort of gotten back into it, and I've nearly gotten on into it every day.
Okay.
But a lot of the people that I would usually play games with, they either don't have the game yet,
Gotcha.
or are sort of apprehensive on the wipes.
Okay.
But to my understanding, I think even in the full game, there might be tiny wipes. I'm not 100% sure on it whether it's true or not, but I've heard that they want permadeaths.
Yes.
So to me, that's you're just a toon, and then you go buy all your armor, your gear and stuff. You die, you drop all that on the ground, and then you're pretty much like a level 1 toon again.
No, so here, I'll explain it to you a little bit. I walk up to you and I shoot you in the head. You've progressed to the highest level bounty hunter, and you just were AFK and I shot you in the head, you will likely wake up in your bed and you will still be your character. You will still have all your reputation. But if that happens over and over and over again for a significant amount of times, over a significant period of time, whatever CIG decides, eventually you will succumb to the amount of injuries that you've had over the course of X amount of months, years, whatever, and your character will die, and some of your reputation and all of your possessions will be passed on to your next of kin. So you make another character, which is the person who got everything in your will, and you will have some of that reputation that your father may have had, right? Which is something that is true and happens in real life, right? If your father lived a certain life in the spotlight, I don't know why, but I'm using Donald Trump as an example. Donald Trump has a somewhat negative reputation for a lot of people, right? Therefore, his sons and daughters are instantly going to have some of his reputation. So that's kind of what Star Citizen's planning on doing. He's the first one that came to mind. I'm sorry. I don't know. They could be great people for all we know.
I still reckon it should be nearly every death as well, or at least lose all your gear every death, because then it makes you more apprehensive of jumping into that like massive battle.
I'd like that game too, but we had this discussion earlier today while I was streaming. Just the developers are not interested in making hardcore games anymore, and it's really sad.
I think it should be for your ships as well. Like that's where the insurance comes into it. Like you look at insurance in real life. You crash your car, they'll replace your car to the same amount of what your car is, but they will not give you all the upgrades that you've put on that car.
Exactly. And so what Star Citizen wants to do, this is their most recent discussion, is as you upgrade your ship, your deductible goes up, but you still get everything back in your upgrades. And I'm not a huge fan of that personally. But yeah.
That also goes with the persistence thing. Like you get killed out in space, the salvages, if you get all your stuff back, then what's really there to salvage? Like that just takes away from the persistence of the whole verse.
Yeah.
To me, like with your gear and dying, I reckon your ship should be a wreckage there until the salvages actually come and take it away.
Yeah, or you come and take it away and gather things back.
Yeah.
I personally liked the idea, and I've been talking about Escape from Tarkov a lot lately, the way they do their insurance system, where if you insure something, it has a cost to it, and basically, if you die, whatever items and things that you've insured on your ship will be returned to you if nobody has taken them off your ship over a certain period of time. So if a salvage team hasn't found them, if the player who killed you hasn't salvaged most of the items on your ship, then they would not be returned to you. But if they were left there by the time that the insurance company's salvage team got there, then you would have everything returned to you. That's kind of how I like to do it. But before I let you go, Acid, just like your final thoughts here, because we have a few callers in line and I want to get to them before I have to head out.
I did see that. I think the game's actually fairly playable now.
Okay. You said you were playing it on a daily basis, right? How about this? We'll end with this. What brings you back on a daily basis? There has to be some level of progression or enjoyment going on there. So what is it?
Well, at the moment, I'm still getting used to all the new things that they've brought over the last 4 years. So I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Like I've made mistakes. I'm learning like all the finds.
Yeah.
I've gotten a fair few of them.
And then you have to earn your money back to pay for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just paying off fines is making my gameplay go longer.
Okay. I don't know if that's a great gameplay loop, but all right. Acid Trip, I will let you go. Thank you so much for calling in, and I hope we see you on an Answer the Calls sometime soon.
I'll be back.
Later, man. Be good.
See ya.
All right. Our next caller is a pretty regular caller, Alyciana. So, Alyciana, what's up? How are you? And what is progression in Star Citizen to you? She may be AFK, but she's muted right now. So I might go to a tweet real quick. Let's see. I'm trying to type her name incorrectly over and over again in the thing too. There we go. Alyciana. Perfect. All right, so let's get that in there, and then I'll go to a tweet if she's AFK for the moment. All right, so no go there. We'll go to a tweet real quick. So we got a tweet from Joshua or Itami1269. There has to be a 69 in there, of course. I look at Star Citizen as Space Second Life, and I think a lot of people do too. I think progression is about building your persona online. Having a ship to pimp out, a character to develop, notoriety through actions and customizations of that character. Currently, we're limited, but it's alpha. Yeah. Obviously, I'm aware it's alpha, but the... no, you're muted, Alyciana. For some reason. So just try and get your mic squared away somehow, and then we'll get you on. I think Star Citizen is Space Second Life. I think it is about building your persona online. But not only that, it's not necessarily building your persona amongst everyone else. Of the players, the actual real life players playing the game. It's also building your persona within the Star Citizen universe. I hear you, Ali, now. So let's jump back to Ali's call here and say what's up. So how you doing? Okay, I hear noise, but now...
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
Okay, good. You do hear me. Ali, you're hearing me on the... Are you hearing me? I am hearing you, but are you hearing me on the stream? Yeah, I hear the delay. You're hearing me on the stream, but not in Discord. So you got your mic figured out. Now get the headphones figured out. But yeah, the Space Second Life thing. I'll try and kill the dead air for a little bit and talk more about that tweet while Ali's figuring it out. Is the idea of Space Second Life. I think the game is so much more than that. It may be Space Second Life to you, but if that's what the game is now, you could do that right now, right? I think Scarlet Briar is like a really good example of somebody that's has a reputation in the game already. No clue what's wrong, same headset as always. Okay, Alyciana, I'll push you back in line a little bit, and we'll get to you when you get it figured out. I'm going to push you in with Sunday, and then maybe you can chat with him and try and get things worked out with him, okay? And then we'll have you skip in line when it's all figured out. All right, so I pushed Alyciana back, and we'll skip everybody ahead and bring in Kami next. So, Kami, how are you? What's up, dude?
Good. How are you, Mike?
I'm very well. So, let me get your little title up there. But what is progression to you in Star Citizen? What does it mean?
I know you like different perspectives on ATC.
Yeah.
From previous callers, and I think I have one.
Okay.
So, mostly people have been talking about technical progression so far, like getting bigger ships, better ships,
Yeah.
making money for other purposes, and so on. And obviously that is the case for all of us. That is a measure of progression for all of us. But to me, that doesn't create an excitement with the experience. For me, progression is more tied to stories that happen day in, day out in the universe for me.
Okay.
Both individually and as part of an org. So I have had a very good perspective on this. EVE Online was mentioned by one of the previous callers, and I have had very good experience with this. I played EVE for 10 years, and I still to this day remember the stories that we had as part of what's called corporations there and called organizations in Star Citizen. So, and it's a progression in player-made storylines. And you even have books about those player-made stories that progress throughout months and years in EVE. And so in Star Citizen, I can think of two kinds of this kind of progression that I could have. The first is server meshing, which would bring in opportunities for organizations to have storylines, progressive storylines with each other. Like, for example, I'm part of a organization called Red and Black Coalition, which is a revolutionary left-wing organization in Star Citizen, which is involved in struggle against both UE and corporations for the workers, for the working class. And for us, they could be things like player-made events, like, for example, operations. Let's say if we had convoys from corporations in space and on the ground, or if we had an ability to, for example, attack security guards and things like that, that would be kind of the stories that would tie in, that would progress and would be able to. We would have after action reports, for example, after these attacks on UE and corporate forces, and then when these reports and when these battle reports add up over days and weeks and months, they create kind of a storyline, a history of progression of how the org started, how they progressed, how individual members of the org played. That would be one thing, but that would only be brought in after server meshing, because currently
we're all not playing together, obviously.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah. And then there could be another thing that could enable this kind of storyline progression instead of like technical progression would be things like land claim, pioneer base building, that would enable both individuals and orgs to be tied and connected to certain areas. To create homesteads for themselves, and when you're connected to the same area on the same planet, that creates a storyline for you, and then that defending that area from others, sending out patrols from those areas in space and on the ground to achieve certain goals, that creates kind of a storyline, and I can't help but imagine those kind of storyline progressions all the time.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. What about something like general story arcs in Star Citizen that are not created by the players? What if they're handcrafted by the company, like a Vandal story arc or a pirate story arc, or watching a planet go from a utopia to crumbling because their economy crashed? Is that stuff fall in line with what you are looking for as well, or?
As long as I think individually, absolutely. I'm going to be doing at least a light level of role playing for my character, and I think for players who like role playing, those would be absolutely part of their storyline progression for their character. They would write up stories and run blogs about how they participated in those and what they achieved in those. For orgs, I think what would be the key thing is if CIG allowed at least a certain degree of weaving in org activities into those developer-run events, so that you could have a history of these events that were run by the devs, but player orgs participated in them, and the names of these orgs and maybe even individual members of them stayed in as part of the game lore.
Would a good example be a Vandal battle happened in the stand system, because that's the only system we have, right? And if you go to I don't know, Microtech and at the space station, instead of there being some stupid sculpture of some random event that is in their lore, it would be a sculpture with the names of the organizations that helped win the battle of Microtech. Like that's what you mean there, I'm assuming?
Yeah, that would be a good example. And also even just recordings, like the reports of these battles or events, kept in blogs and then maybe even published as part of books, like you have for Eve, as I mentioned. That kind of recorded history. I mean, or in Eve, for example, the corporations that have been there since the launch or since the mid 2000s, when the game was in its early stages, they boast about having a long history in that universe. And the same could be true of Star Citizen orgs if they participate in all these events. Even just being able to pinpoint to some kind of a record, maybe there could be a website where maybe the new platform that they launched at the CitizenCon,
how long have you been following Star Citizen for?
Since late 2014, early 2015 is when I first learned about it and made my RSI account, but I only became a backer in December now, because I knew there wasn't much content to entertain me for a long time.
So did you watch their weekly YouTube videos at all?
Yes, every year since 2015.
Do you remember when Sandy and some random white dude would do these in lore news reports at the beginning of Around the Verse?
I think I do, yes. I have some vague memory of that, yeah.
I think that was the plan initially. Yeah. I don't know where that's gone and where that may go, but I think that your idea there of the reporting on the events and things like that, I mean, they have a whole ship based around it, right? With the TV Reliant.
The Mako.
Yeah, that there's something there, and it may have turned into, hey, let's build a ship so the players can do it so we don't have to. So, there may be some YouTuber out there that doesn't exist yet. Maybe that person's you, Kami, who knows, right? That eventually becomes this reporter on what's going on in the verse. Maybe it's Board Gamer, but it could be really interesting in the future where you get that kind of reporting. I thought that maybe it would be them initially. They would hire game masters, and that would be whoa, there's a big battle going on here, and they're looking at it on Quanta, and they go, oh shit, a bunch of players just died in this area. I should jump to it and record and report on it in the weekly or monthly report that they do or something. I think that's possible. I think they might.
And I hope the lore team has more plans for more engagement with players instead of only writing lore articles, which is nice. I love reading those, but I some kind of closer integration of players, orgs, and the lore would really enable a lot of players, especially those who plan to do role playing, to have a better progression for their characters instead of just having the technical progression of ships and money and so on.
I agree. So with that said, and I'll leave the call with your final thoughts on this, is I'm assuming you're not playing Star Citizen super regularly, and if you aren't, and these are the things that you want, I think the game has to go a lot further and be a lot more filled before they start focusing on these kind of story arcs or creating the ability for orgs to interact with the gameplay loops in the way that you want. Is that kind of true? And is that what you're waiting for, or is there more that's keeping you from really immersing yourself in Star Citizen?
Yeah, that's true. That's exactly true. Okay. I was so excited to see server meshing initially on the 2018 roadmap, and now we don't even have it for. We know it's going to be close to completion this year, as Chris said at the CitizenCon. So server meshing is going to be the big thing that's going to enable storyline progression, the thing I've been talking about between players and between orcs. So that's the first thing I'm waiting for.
Okay. Well, all right, Kami, thank you so much for calling in, and we'll hopefully see you in a future Answer the Call.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Anytime, man. Bye now. All right, so Alyciana's all worked out. Hello, Alyciana. Welcome back.
Hello.
How's it going? So what's progression?
It's going pretty good.
Good. Now that you're all figured out, right?
Yeah, I'm all figured out.
So what's progression, and what does it mean for you in Star Citizen?
So I'm probably in the minority type player.
Okay.
But, I don't do the ship grind.
Yeah.
I never plan to do it and I'm not going to do it. For me, I see the ships as a tool.
All right.
A way of experiencing certain types of content in the way that I'm, looking to do it. So I don't believe in like grinding for gear and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
I don't really want to do a lot of missions. My end game, or what I want to do, is I want to be able to use the ships to experience the kind of content that I want and make my own gameplay.
What kind of content is that?
Really, really proficient. So it's like really being really proficient at the professions that I'm interested in. Out of all the ships that I have, I think I have 20 maybe. Only one is combat, because I'm not interested in that at all. But as a medic, so what would it take to be profitable and have fun and be really good as a medic using a Cutlass Red, if that's the ship I'm flying?
Do you think...
I want to...
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it takes a lot to take a player profession, be efficient at it, and be profitable at it with no missions. And that's how I play. I don't do any of the missions. So missions being broken has never been a thing for me because I don't do them. I want to figure out how to run a business in a game around content that I enjoy. And that's what I've done as Endgame in every other MMO, because Endgame, the other MMOs always have crafting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's where my game really starts. And the levels for me are just a cock block to get to the max level so I can go off and do what I want to do, which is exactly that. And here I get to bypass the cock block because, I can just get the ship. The ship is just a tool that I'm actually using to do all these other things.
Yeah. Do you think
that's, what my progression is?
Do you think that reputation might get in the way and force you to have to grind a little bit?
I think it really depends. And it really even shouldn't be a grind, because if doing missions is a grind, they're doing it wrong.
I think you know what I mean by
still
grind.
Should be fun and engaging. Okay,
not in the negative way, but you'll have to play a little bit more of the manufactured gameplay rather than the sandbox as much.
The only ship that I have that I think I'll have to consider that is the Starliner Genesis. So for the Starliner Genesis and the concept document that came out with it, they did talk about having to have your pilot's license and a reputation.
Yeah.
If you wanted to fly in and out of certain ports.
Or even
so if you want to be able to land over at Port Tesla,
yeah,
then you have to be a certified, qualified, pilot to do mass transit.
Or even to fly certain types of NPCs. Like, there's some airline. I mean, I do have a fear of flying, but there are some airlines that I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole.
Right. So
because they have a bad reputation.
They have to be part of some guild in order to get the best of the best. Then I can consider and weigh for myself if I want to do that enough to be shackled to doing those missions. I'm approaching this like a sandbox. In EVE Online, the missions are so repetitive. They have so few of them. And still I played for 7 years because I didn't really do them. People really only do them for some sort of reputation, like you're talking about, to get access to certain kind of components or be able to buy certain tier 2 ships. Other than that, I didn't do missions.
Yeah.
Other players are my missions.
Yeah.
I build interactions with other players in the game that foster my content. That keeps it ever changing. No session will be exactly the same
Yep.
as the other session because of players. And that's why I play MMOs even if I solo them,
Yeah.
because of that evolving, ever changing dynamic. You never know what's going to happen the next time you log in, gameplay style. That's what I really enjoy about MMOs.
Yeah. I it's so funny because we're polar opposites when it comes to that. I love the grind, and what's exciting about what the Star Citizen grind is, if like it's more of like the ship element of moving from one ship to the next and experiencing new things. It's not like that cock block you mentioned that a lot of what leveling is in other MMOs. You're not doing anything you like or enjoy. You're doing it because you have to, because it's the quickest way to get to doing what you want to. Whereas with Star Citizen, you can choose the grindy elements that are fun, but you have these paths that you're experiencing the game while you're doing it, which seems kind of interesting and different and exciting to me. And that's kind of what progression is for me.
And I think is the dominant play style. I've played every MMO for the past, 20 years with my kids. This will be the first exception if, if they decide they're not going to play these accounts.
Yeah.
And my son always is the best of the best of the best.
Uh-huh.
Period. I mean, that's just how he plays. He's going to grind. He's going to do whatever, play till his eyes bleed, but he's going to have best in slot for everything.
Yeah.
And that's what he enjoys. And me walking around in some, middling level gear, but I have more money than any of them.
Yeah.
Because, I'm into the trading and doing services that players are willing to pay for. He doesn't care about that,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I understand that play style. It's just not for me, and it never really has been. I've never approached MMOs that way, and I won't start with Star Citizen.
That's fair. And I think Star Citizen provides you with a lot more of what you're looking for in terms of player interaction than a lot of other games do. So that's good.
Absolutely. That's what made me so excited about it.
Yeah.
I've played EVE Online, and for me, Star Citizen was always going to be what I called EVE Evolved.
Mm-hmm.
There might be some mission content that I want to do for certain types of ships, or maybe there won't be, and I'll just continue to do my freestyle ways. But, in EVE the same way, I did whatever I wanted to do in order to buy the ships that I had, and the components and the complexity just around configuring your ship is so in depth, like Star Citizen is now talking about.
Yeah.
In a game like EVE, you can lose a fight before you even exit the hangar.
True.
Because you just weren't outfitted correctly for that encounter you happen to run into.
Yep.
And if they take Star Citizen that direction, I think it'll make a lot of players happy. I mean, it won't bother me one way or the other. If we have to do that, then I'll make sure my ships are appropriate, but that won't be the aim. It's to experience the content is really the goal for me.
Yeah, and the experiences should be really interesting and certainly beautiful. We already see that element, right? And it should only get better from here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've been playing more even though I don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Since 3.6, 3.7, my goal really was just learn the ins and outs of the 890, see what I could do with it. Can I live on this full time? And the answer was yes.
Yeah.
3.8, I started with, mining because I find that fun, even though it's not my long-term plan.
Mm-hmm.
Then when the mole came in, I got that because I like mining enough, but I don't have enough time to, find other players to play with if I'm only going to play for an hour. So I decided, you know what, let me dual box. And that's been a blast. For me, that's progression. That's a challenge.
Yeah.
I had a ship that I wanted to play it. I didn't want to be hindered by others. So I have these accounts just sitting around that my kids aren't playing yet. So I dual boxed it. In 30 minutes, I was good to go because I've dual boxed. Well, I 5-boxed WoW toward the end of my lifetime there. But yeah, to me, that was awesome. That was fun. That was more fun than any mission they could ever give me, figuring out how to dual box the mole and make money with it and be safe. So that's how I play MMOs.
All right. Well, all right, Alyciana. Very good call. Happy we got everything worked out and got you in.
You have a great weekend and hope you guys enjoy your lunch with Emmy's sibling.
The newlyweds, yeah.
And spouse. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Our next caller is Bucko Baklava, formerly known as Epic Baklava. I'm very disappointed in the name change. I must say, Epic Baklava was
okay,
much
Torque
better.
17. I
I don't know who this Torque 17 guy is you keep mentioning, but yeah. I don't know who this guy is you're talking about.
It must have been a past life or something.
Yeah, that's a long lost brother or something, you know. So what's progression to you? And we recently just started playing a little bit together, but not so much in the past. So were you not playing very much?
Well, some of that dealt with, just stutters. It was
Yeah.
really unplayable for a lot of that early 1 point and 2 point. I think it was like 2.5. I could play a little bit. That's probably the main reason why early on it was just too hard to play.
Just
the
bugs.
game was really inconsistent. It still suffers from that right now,
yeah.
but
Oh yeah.
yeah. Unfortunately, like a lot of the things I was going to say were already said, like
Okay.
the just reputation in game, reputation of the players.
Yep.
Like those are things that I'm really looking forward to. So unfortunately, I just didn't hop out of line early enough.
Yeah. Hey, got to get here. That's why I was at the beginning of the show. You guys don't see this stuff, but I'm like, get in there, guys. We only have 2 callers. I don't know if we're going to have a show today. Blah, blah, blah. Get in there. And then we all start talking, and everybody wants to get in the show last minute. And then we have to hurry up the calls. You know? It's just, guys got to get in line. I'll teach you. We'll condition you. We'll condition you.
Thank you.
I gotta get the topic out there earlier. The big part of that is mine. I gotta get a topic out there days earlier. But Star Citizen is tough sometimes to think of things to talk about even a weekly basis, let alone a daily basis, right? So certain topics are tough, and this one was put in the topic suggestion thread on Discord, and I thought for days of like, what title are we going to use? Because it's a little deeper than just what is progression in Star Citizen 2. There's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't beat yourself up too much on that because we all know you're herding a bunch of cats here anyway.
Yeah, it's true. All these clowns.
Give us some more time to think of ideas in case, like you said, like, oh, my topics have already been mentioned. Well, I don't really have a but
yeah.
So that might help in that. But progression in Star Citizen definitely is the reputation both in game and like the player reputation. I definitely would like the talk with the armored core aspect where there's not just one true build, but many builds that kind of can counter one
Yes.
another. I'd like to see some of that.
I think they're really going to start working towards that in this year. CitizenCon was really promising for that element for me.
It has to have that, in my opinion, or else it's just going to be dead. It can't go the traditional, like, let's say, classic WoW route where everybody's grinding slot for that top tier gear. Yeah. You can't do that in this game. That'll the components insurance thing really quickly. I like the whole you get insured your stock car kind of concept, or what you get insured you get back as a stock. I do think like maybe your components you get half back or something. That way you can't constantly get them back. That's just my opinion though.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the Escape from Tarkov model, and I really hope it gets implemented. Whereas if it gets taken, it can't be returned to you. But if it doesn't, it can.
Yeah.
And there's like a timeline there or something. I don't know. That's something that can be debated. There's people on both sides of that one, and I think there's significantly more people on the more casual side that don't want that kind of gameplay, and that's fine. But I do, and that it's both are fine. We're both allowed to have our opinions.
It's true.
Yours is stupid. That's all.
Yeah. I do want it to be more hardcore. I do want this game to kind of be that Second Life where you're kind of building up your own persona.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all about what I'm looking for. I think personally, I'm looking to be a pilot. I'm looking to kind of be more of a ground trooper. And I imagine if it's going to be a hardcore shooter that I think it will be, or that it's showing right now with how easily you just get shot. I'm hoping that there's going to be like some kind of squad lead elements to that kind of FPS, where you're going to need someone who's going to be the leader of, say, like a group of 3 or 4, saying go check that corner, go into that building kind of scenario.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. We are up against it, and it sounds like you're about done anyway, since most people said what you were gonna say.
Yeah.
All right, Bucko. We'll let you go,
Good
buddy.
talking to you, twerk.
Yeah. What? Well, we'll huh? I'll see you in the game, I'm sure, over the next little bit. So
Yeah.
have a good one, dude.
Bye. You too.
All right, Sagent BC3. What's up, dude? Sagent, how are you?
Hey,
Welcome.
I'm good.
I'm gonna turn you up just a tad. Don't worry about messing with your mic. I should have it. What is Star Citizen Progression for you?
Well, for me, one, I've not backed the game or followed the game for as long as most of your chat and most of your callers so
Okay.
far. I only sort of found out about it not year before, so 2018, sometime summer 2018. So I started following development around then, but I literally only last week got a game package.
Awesome.
And
Welcome.
I've been playing since then. So I've been watching your streams for a little while and some other stuff like that.
Have you been watching me bang my head against the wall trying to play 3.8?
Yeah. It's funny. To be fair, it's weird. I haven't had. So I've watched yourself. I've watched Morph's videos and a lot of other people. I watch the streams, and I personally haven't had as much issues as most of you guys have been having.
Are you playing solo?
Yeah, I am.
That's why.
Playing
with others tends to bring more issues.
Yeah. Well, back to the topic. Basically, I've never played an MMO.
Okay.
I've played Monster Hunter, I have played MechWarrior and other stuff, but I haven't really ever played a full-on MMO like World of Warcraft, EVE Online, or any of those sorts of games.
Okay.
So for me, the progression, much like the earlier caller, I think it was Dak, who mentioned the sort of building your own in-game skill. Games I used to play a lot was fighting games. And that is solely in-game skill.
Yeah.
There is you could, depending on the amount of wins you have, someone could see it on your account, but you don't get any like special things for your character for those wins. So it's always been that in-game. Stassi just crashed on me.
It's me, dude. It must be me.
Yeah. So for me, progression would always be the first step of progression will always be that building up your own skills. But I also see like especially because it's an MMO, there's the whole there's two other aspects to it for me. So there's a component part or ships mining claims and information filling up and stuff like that. Just the way you do your professions, the ships you get, how you make your ships better and stuff like that. That will always be like the component sort of progression for me.
Gotcha.
So if you're starting as a starter, prospector, going up to a mole, going up to Orion, so I won't ever like buy all those ships with actual cash.
Yeah, I think it's what's fun is that.
In-game.
Yeah.
It's much better in game. And then on top of that, which is all three of them have been mentioned in your calls, but the reputation side of it. So after you've gotten the max of everything in components and you feel like you're either the high level of beginner in your skills or intermediate, you now need to do more challenging things or try new things to be able to get better in your skills. So reputation for me brings into you getting more interesting missions or things to do or more challenging things to do. So like when they brought in the 890 jump mission, I realized immediately as soon as they said, "Oh, it's not soloable. This is our first squad mission." Everyone tried to solo it. That's the first thing everyone did. The first thing everyone did. No one went to it with a squad. They just went straight in, tried to solo it, and most of them did because it was buggy.
Yeah.
AI was shit and stuff like that. But
Standard.
that's what this game is going to be about. Like any challenge that you set, that's impossible for a squad or something like that, someone will try to solo it and want to be like the very first. Because I've seen it with just WoW Classic coming back, because I wasn't obviously involved in WoW. But WoW Classic, the first thing that happened is everyone wanted to be the first one to do the raid. Everyone wanted to
Of
be
course.
the first one to reach level 60 or whatever else. So there will be those sort of races as well. And that would be the reputation side of it. Even with like your racing, people want to set the best times, and each sort of profession will have their own little reputation progression levels.
Yeah.
But it's also part of the motivation. And I don't think it's there yet for Star Citizen. So what I'm doing now is building my foundation of skills. Although the foundational mechanics aren't fully ironed out, not even the flight model is ironed out, all of that, everything is constantly changing. It's still better for me to learn it while it's changing.
Yeah, are you still there?
Yeah,
sorry. It's okay. You just cut out really quick. While it's changing. Yeah, I think it's better too. That's why I continue to play it. I think it's way more advantageous. Like for me, like I enjoy mining a lot, and becoming as skillful in that game and understanding where everything is, how to get to it, and how to do it as efficiently and quickly as possible is that's also part of progression for me. And that's what excites me.
I actually, because of your streams, I started like mining a little bit more to see how quickly I could make money with mining.
Yeah,
I haven't rented the prospectors yet or anything like that. Just hand mining, and I got into someone's prospector and we just went sort of scanning. I was just in the ship and he was scanning, finding stuff, and whenever he found hand minables, I'll jump out, he'll continue go on mining,
and then
I'll clean up all the hand minables, come pick me up, and then we'll go again.
That's cool.
That for me that was actually a very interesting gameplay loop, and I sort of got into mining because of it. But I really, really wish there was a way to put down GPSs or something.
Yeah,
already.
I think we'll see some of that in the somewhat near future, but I don't know when that exactly means. But all right, Sagent, I have to run. I'm up against it, so thank you so much for your call, man, and welcome to Star Citizen.
Thank you.
Have a good one, dude.
All right.
Bye now. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for this week's Answer the Call. I hope you enjoyed the show. I thought this topic would be really interesting and different and fun. So seeing everyone's perspective is what's really exciting and nice. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And leave a like, comment. Let me know what is progression for you in Star Citizen and what is kind of what would bring you to Star Citizen and have you playing on a regular basis. All right? And that's going to be it for me, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.